아니는 요양아도 기부 튕기 남일을 만지는 제사되다 당보 원조라 가르쳐 버스네 네 나라 안가서 숨다 네 하다미 감숨 네 강도 기와 있네야 레다 안지가서 동아여라시샤스 동아 삼다 내게 안동아 딜레데 타고도 선배게다 마탄다 타면 타고도 선배 삼다하다 동아 딜레 동아디 빵베 탈바 토고도 선배게 탈바 돈이 삼바기 타바들이 삼바기네 안디 돈에다 저기 주름소야 돼 짐바다야 수배 냠는지야 당어서 계셔가를 두비네야 안도시나 탈바들 라니 탈바 토고도 삼바제 디 돈에는 군모 디 돈에 가서 계셔가 두어야 돼 냠는지야 되다 예부 징겔람이를 냠는지다지 아디네요 지금 다디시 대디 동아 삼다의 집같이 되네 감정 고려 동아 타달에 타고 뒤에 랑지부 많이 봤음전 탐제다 동아이 날뒤 버려셔 지사 심전 탐제 대화다 되나 선배게 잠바고 심전의 저 동아다 자와쇼 자고도 선배게다 애는 이제곰 다심전 탐제 대화다 덴바다 동아한테 덴바 동아한테 자와 동아 규다 자와데 니치기 세상 동아여 규딜에다 녀모바치다 녀모 심전 탐지기 녀모바데야 니 방주 탑시제 방주제 되냐 심전 탐제 상에서 거기 인세비게 안는 하산 남다의 계제 되네 심전 탐지는 산지고 토브쇼 심배 전슈심 계제 냠는 두삼다에 되어서 다 기부 챔비글람 이런 바 냠나지 당 고주해 되네 그래서 어디지 가서 디고 삼다 쉬루아.
Good afternoon. This morning, then, we looked at the practices that are shared with a practitioner of intermediate capacity. And the practitioner of intermediate capacity, in order to give rise to their motivation of striving for liberation, which is their goal, that of nirvana, they need to engage in deep meditation on the sufferings of cyclic existence. They can approach this in a number of ways, one being reflecting on the sufferings of the individual realms, the three lower realms, the sufferings of the upper realms, such as humans and gods. And then in the human realm, there are different divisions of suffering, but it all comes down to the threefold division. So this needs to be looked at in great detail, because this is the reflection on the sufferings of samsara, is the cause that leads to the cultivation of the wish for freedom. And this is the motivation of a practitioner of intermediate capacity. Thereafter, the second part is when they engage under the influence of that meditation, that motivation, in various meditations, accumulating virtue such as ethical restraint, generosity, patience, joyous perseverance, and in particular concentration and wisdom. Thereafter, in dependence on this training in the practices in accordance with a practitioner of intermediate capacity, the practitioner then turns their focus from their own situation to that of others, recognizing that it is not solely me in this predicament. All other limitless, kind mother sentient beings throughout the realms of existence are suffering too. And they're suffering in the same way that I am. But most of them, almost all of them, have no idea about their predicament. And thinking like this, the wish naturally arises within one. May they be freed of suffering and pain. May they experience only lasting happiness. In this way, compassion and love arises. And this is cultivated where through reflecting further that the reasons that others are suffering are no different from myself. They are experiencing the ripening effect of the contaminated karma they themselves accumulated under the control of their own afflicted minds, which has as its root cause the ignorance of self-grasping. With reflecting like this, the compassion and love for others grows ever stronger, and one recognizes that rather than striving for my own happiness alone, I need to embark on the journey of striving to free them, because they are innumerable in number and I am only one. And here one commits to taking their welfare, the welfare of each and every single sentient being, as one's own personal responsibility. And here, one generates the first two aspects of the mind of bodhicitta. This is the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility, where one takes responsibility for the welfare of others. But in order to fulfill that, one has to become a Buddha. It's only a Buddha who's skilled enough to guide beings in accordance with their own personalities. So here one commits to striving to become a Buddha for the sake of others. And this is the generation of bodhicitta.
지자다 전주심께야 당보 원도 냠는 가르쳐 고래스네 당보 냠는 제디 코위 동아리에 견다야들이 지상 코위 동아리야 코알이야 견야 보지 마통 바이나 당보 라니 때도디 기부 튕기네 하셔도 소소 코위 견 삼바디는 소수규래 녀모베 레다 녀모바 삼다 디왕게 코알로 코도 심페 코위진 바디 디섬도 약보시 당고 거래 니 약보 당바 마타바이나 안시안 심전 탐지 코위 동아다 동아나수도 하고 말해 지상 코위 심전 동아를 코위 나수도 하고 하면은 심전 탐지 대화도 되나 심배 잠바다 심전 동아다 자고 심배 잠제디 기투고 말와 지자 디네자 다 당보 동아저기 동아나수 삼다 나 소소야 레다 녀모 동아나수도 소수이게 동아다 유에 동아 차와도 지티며 삼다 다 소수규라 디나 하고 요도 디 샤라 카포제 심자 탐제래 심자 탐제네 동아다서 삼다 디네 삼다에도 심자 탐제라리아 아니 지가 라게 파다마 차라먹고 진요바 라라 진체보 그린 첨보이바 삼다들와 그린 첨보 삼다자다 라라 진체보 그린 첨보자 디네게 심전디게랴 다 동아에 나제 대화 민도 지사 심자 탐제래 대화데 대나서 배 잠자 삼다야다 디네 심자도 동아다 차와쇼 심피게 니지고 근데 심지어는 대화나 대마다 대위규 대화 대마라 대위규 파진주게 냠len 고고래 제사 심지어 탐지를 냠len 제고고래 심지어는 동화다자라 심지어 유게다 녀모바도 방고도 디딩에 톱시치기 인생에 다 심지어 탐지게 녀모바 빠야다 심지어는 동화를 자야딩에 톱시치기 심지어는 대화대 대화야 유 파진주게 냠len 제야딩에 톱시치기 세대 네 콘솔을 랍제 잡는 최대제 콘솔을 파지주게 냠len 제주기 인식으로 세상 네 동화 세워지도 콘솔을 최시에제 콘솔 곰 잡주 콘솔에네 동화되게 매와 가서 녀모바 빠주게 네 빠주게 네 지킨스네 된게 라산 남다 숙천부게 여도 되네 근데 신에 난 디젤이야데 네 디던달라 당하라 녀모 빠야 돼 나랑 디기 요야다 되네 체 많이 봐 심전 탐제를 펜버주고도 대인장의 녀모의 방어제 안 탈비고 산지고 봐 토고도 세야디 한제시 셈고 냠내 제다디 삼다다디 림바루스 마선에 디니시 삼당고 그래서 그러와다고
What we've heard here is that the entranceway to the paths of the Bodhisattva, the entranceway into the cultivation of the actual paths of the Mahayana Dharma, is the cultivation of the mind of bodhicitta. So let's look again then at how to generate the mind of bodhicitta. And the indispensable starting point is what we have just heard, reflecting in detail on the sufferings of samsara. This is indispensable because without giving rise to the strong wish to be freed of suffering oneself, how can one give rise to the suffering of all others? How can one wish for all beings to be freed of suffering when one has not yet given rise to that genuine wish for oneself? Therefore, one starts by reflecting on the sufferings in samsara in relation to oneself. Then, dependent on that successful cultivation, one then is ready to apply it to others. But again, I want to emphasize the importance of training first in the sufferings, or in reflecting first on the sufferings of samsara, because without being successful in this contemplation, one doesn't give rise to a sufficiently well-developed basis for the generation of actual love an actual bodhicitta. All one will be able to do is give rise to a wish, a genuine wish for sure, but just a mere wish, may others experience freedom from pain, but not a strong enough wish to transform ourselves, not a strong enough wish to be a preceding step or a basis to give rise to bodhicitta. So therefore, we have to reflect well on the sufferings of samsara, and when we know our own situation well, and we've given rise to a determination to be freed ourselves, that's when we're ready to turn our attention to others. When we're turning our attention to others, we reflect on the tremendous kindness of all mother sentient beings, the benefit and the kindness they have shown us in lifetime after lifetime, giving rise to the wish to repay that kindness. And when this wish to repay the kindness arises, naturally we'll think how to do so. Now bear in mind, we have this basis already of a strong and detailed reflection on the sufferings of samsara, and we will understand, and thereby understand well the positions of mother sentient beings. And therefore, when we're looking at how to repay the kindness, immediately it will be clear. They need to be freed from the causes of suffering, and because that's the only way that they can achieve lasting stable happiness. So here we generate love, may they experience lasting stable happiness. And compassion, may they be freed of all suffering. But we doing so through the clear lens of understanding cause and effect, understanding that they suffer due to contaminated karma accumulated by the afflictions with the root as ignorance of self-grasping. Hence, again, the need for the starting point of the meditation on the sufferings of samsara. So here, having generated love and compassion, we know that sentient beings have to train in the 6 perfections. That is the route for all beings to be freed of suffering, to train in ethics, generosity, patience, joyous perseverance, concentration, and wisdom. And here then, one commits oneself to striving in one's own endeavors so that one can lead others successfully. And this is where we give rise to the altruistic attitude, being determined to take on the responsibilities of relieving others of suffering. This is the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility. And to do that effectively, we have to become a Buddha. And this is how we generate bodhicitta. So here, the key difference between the practitioner of greatest capacity and the practitioner of intermediate capacity in how they approach the abandonment of their own afflicted minds together with their seeds is the practitioner of greatest capacity will do so in order to benefit others. Their primary wish is to benefit others, but to do so, they have to abandon their own afflictions. But what dominates their mind is not their own liberation, it is to benefit others. So the central focus of the practitioner of greatest capacity is others. And that central focus of benefiting others is not the dominant intention of a practitioner of intermediate capacity. They may well care for others and want the best for others, but that's not the centerpiece of their attention.
That in my thinking, Teshe Semje Tesho Lamji Shunshin de Lapchun Juba Namji Shidan de Sonyu Kuna Sergio Ziyu Zidago Rabjam Keso Dube Sunam Der Dedarshine Geshe Bawanam Rabjam Keso Duba Sunam Der San Devado Session Yel.
That then brings us to the 21st verse. Bodhicitta is the central axle of the supreme vehicle path. It is the foundation and the support of all expansive deeds. It is like an elixir of gold, transforming all into the 2 accumulations. It is the treasury of merits, gathering uncountable collections of virtue.
Semje Tejo Lamji Shunshin de Sidada Jachu Sem says the Teba Chembuki Chuen Yamlin Jegi 태쇼 람지 슌신스 태바 세디 태바 촉스고와 태바들라 년두기 태바 랑이 태바 안제유심베 태바 시고와 태바 숨스 람 르메 냠 림바체다텔라 숨용고와 디네자 디나데다 람킨 리바 태바 촉도 유바디 자주심베게 람냠네 제들이 시고와 제사다 디 태바 촉이 람지 냠네 조르부디 다이 디레 자주심들이 해서 샘게 태초 람지 슌신데서 자주 샘세리 다 자주 샘바남이 람냠렌제게 조로시다 조로시에서
Bodhicitta is the central axle of the supreme vehicle path. Vehicle we can understand in two ways. The way that we'll look at it here is that there are three vehicles. There is the vehicle of the hearers, there's the vehicle of the solitary realizers, and there's the vehicle of the bodhisattvas. And amongst these three, it's the vehicle of bodhisattvas that is supreme.
다 전주심 태바침베게 가서 전주심 세디 다 태바침에 남기 냠린 나는 냠 조임비 김전 가래세나 다 되소르데 랍친주비 랍친주바 남기 시단 띵스 그래서 랍친주바 남기 시단 띵스 랍친스도 전주심 바 남기 냠린 제게 랍친 나베 라버체 냠린 제데 가래 람다 진베 냠네 수제 냠네 수베 냠네 준레 냠네 someday 냠이 셔라 냠네 어디서 냠네 제야들이그래서 전주심비게 줘발라보시 다 냠네 제야들이래서 제사다 진바당 추진다 쇠바당 준주게 someday 셔랍 냠네 제야디게 차사다 산지 요고방 토바 태바 남진이 산지 요고방 토비 규규야디 가리치고래서는 태진 심게들 땜바래제 제사 태진 심게디 매바이나 군노 태진 심게 전주심디 매바이나 근데 진바다 추림 세바준이 냠는 제백에 산조고바 투투 말해서 제산 내내게 전주 선반남게 줘봐 냠는 지게 줘봐 팔신 두기 냠는데 다 산지 요고바 투비 규차에게 띵디 가화띵 거 시디가래라네 자주심 태바침베 심제 담주 산요고바 투버쇼스 자주심들이 제산 자주심 될라 띵네 되네 안데도 차산 냠는 제 차산 아니 산조고바 투비 규차고래 제산 자주심디 전주심 반남이 냠는지에 차상기다 시당 조 땡들에서 땡될 때에다 남게 산조고만 더 규차고를 해지래.
Looking then at the first line, bodhicitta is the central axle of the supreme vehicle path. And the reason for this statement then is posited in the second line. Because it is the foundation and the support of all expansive deeds. So the meaning then of the second line, it is the foundation and the support of all expansive deeds, is that of the vehicle that is the Mahayana Dharma or the Bodhisattva vehicle, its very axle, the basis, is bodhicitta. Because without this axle, the vehicle cannot progress. It is indispensable. And the reason it's indispensable is the practices that a bodhisattva engages in have as their goal enlightenment. For that goal to be achieved, those practices have to be conjoined with the mind striving for enlightenment, the mind of bodhicitta. With that mind absent, that goal of enlightenment cannot be achieved. So what are the practices that a bodhisattva engages into? Generosity, ethical restraint, patience, joyous perseverance, concentration, and wisdom. The same 6 practices we've been hearing about. But here they have a goal of enlightenment. And for that goal to be achieved, these 6 practices have to be conjoined with bodhicitta. Their foundation needs to be bodhicitta. And this is because when those same practices are conjoined with bodhicitta, they are called perfections. And the reason they're called perfections is because they are conjoined with bodhicitta, they will lead to the attainment of the perfected state of enlightenment. So therefore, with this indispensable axle of bodhicitta, those same practices can achieve their goal of enlightenment. Without bodhicitta, a goal of liberation or good rebirth is achieved, but not enlightenment. Hence, it's indispensable.
다 설교기 지세야지 요래서 왔다 설교기 지세야지 지디파 잘파 주셔만 자서상 설교 주고래 시상 설교진 설교그래서 안디나신이에서 왔다 장주쌤들 bên 진보 수준 쇠바 준이 냠렌세데 군론 장주쌤 매바 있나 대서 냠렌체바 있나 아니 가지 냠렌체나 상제고 봐도 규체고 말해서 세상 장주스 군론 장주쌤 유군의 랑제 안 대서 냠렌체여도 되니기 아니 초니 세도 선남이 초라 선남 초 진바도 수준 쇠바 준주되게 아니 셰랍게 아니 제가 예식이 초안 동요도 배시라고 하면다 신여고 미야되게 차사다 아니 산제고 반남게 되고 봐 귤을 봐 귤고래 귤투고래서 제가 자주심 요군에 라제 파신주게 냠는 제도 다 개와가래 사회인의 파신주게 냠는다 디멘비게다 지게가 저기 나사야나 최보푸야나 꼬아꼬나 가래 제베 개와가래 사회인의 장주심 요군에 라제 개와가래 사회인의 차사는 가서래 손님이 초이시 소 가래 사회 차사 산지고 봐 남긴 토비기 귤파 귤고래 규체고래 제래
In the third line, it is like an elixir of gold, transforming all into the two accumulations. Bodhicitta is likened to an elixir of gold. So just like an elixir can transform an ordinary metal into gold, bodhicitta transforms the 6 practices that are shared with those of the other vehicles into the practices of a bodhisattva, into the practices of the supreme vehicle. It's the presence, the indispensable presence of bodhicitta that transforms those same practices into the paths that lead to enlightenment. So this is crucial, a crucial point, because it serves to stir one to cultivate bodhicitta. And moreover, when one is practicing these 6 perfections, rather than the 6 practices, but the 6 perfections, one is accumulating the 2 accumulations. The 2 accumulations being that of merit and that of wisdom. And those 6 perfections, the first 5, lead to the accumulation of merit. So when one is practicing the perfections of generosity, ethical restraint, patience, of joyous perseverance and concentration, it leads to the accumulation of merit. And the 6th perfection, that of the perfection of wisdom, is what leads to the accumulation of wisdom. And both of these, accumulation of merit, accumulation of wisdom, both of these are required in order for the final goal, that of enlightenment, to be achieved.
근데 랍점 계속 뒤에 수남 때라서다. 제가 랍점 세드에 개와 랍침 보시고 그래. 제가다 장주심 유군에 라디 진바던 수준다. 다시 개위에 자와 가리 주바이나야 개와데 뺀마세기 개침 보시고 차그래서 랍점 쓰다. 랍점 개위소. 근데 개침 보시고 차그래서 뒤비기 수남 때라서. 당아도 때라라면 뺀 때라 침보 쉬면은 될야까지 지금도 렘바이나 림보시리까지 나가 줘야 매발렌디어 쉬면은 때라서 그러고 디나제 당은 장주심 유군에 라제 개와 같이 싸바나 개와디 차상 셈 그래서 장주심 셈전 탐지기 돈달라 산주고방 토비기 군에 나와자 셈전 탐지기 돈달라 개와사 그러고 제사디 싸바자 데니게 장주심 유군에 라제 개와사베 개와디 근데 가제 봐도 하기로선 셈전 탐지 산지 고방 마토기 봐도 개와데 뒤고래 다 좋아하긴 해 개와디 윤우 데니시 개침 못 차고 그래제 제사 데니자 랍침 계속 뒤에 수남 때라 세도 제사 개와 가제디 셈전 탐지 산지 고방 마토기 봐도 개와디 다 좋아요 말이시래 제사 수남데 좋아요 말이자 소리 때려 침보 뱀 마스베다 판도 침보 셈전 탐지를 판도야지 그래서 제사 당한 저기 개와치마 사다미 고방 토이 삼삼다 대삼지 삼다 제가서 개와사바이나 진바 수준 쇠바 냠내 제바이나 디기 개와치마 하다미 고방 토요도 아주 개와 조사래다 차차사래 되는 요 말에 차세 안디나제 다케와 마음번에 타르바토비에게 된다 디잠 삼제제 소소라나 타르바토비에게 된다 디잠 삼다지 진바도 추림수비 80년에 예제바이나 되네 아주 타르바고바 톱사나 대지 수남사에게 니바데코 제바쳐서 민차래다 다 미야하요 말에 다 심전 탐지게 된다 산조고바 토베제 심전 탐지 동아세다 디기주비에게 체도 심전 탐지 산조고바 고베 체도 인삼제 개와사에도 대디 개와디 믹스 차산 심전 탐지 산조고바 미바인자 심전 탐지 산조고바 마토비 바도 소수기까지 이제 개와디 니바디 차산하디고 그래 제가 디네자 랍점 쓰는디 가서 랍점께서 디베스는 때라서도 랍점스베 소는 갸쳔보서 갸쳔보 대외서 갸쳔보 소는데다 때르쳔보다 다와레스 딘시 랍쳔시 우차기를 해제래 자주스님 군대 라제 개와까지 사와이나 지 개와 차사 다 랍쳔보래 샘전다자 산지고바 마도 이바도 개위기 뉴베디 미야디 하디고 레제래.
Then the final line in this verse. It is the treasury of merits, gathering uncountable collections of virtue. Bodhicitta again then is likened here to a treasury of merits. And the treasury of merits we can understand, so merit being virtue or good karma that's been accumulated, and it being a treasury means it is quite magnificent. A treasury would only contain precious substances and jewels and the like. So this is what bodhicitta is being likened. It creates merit that is quite extraordinary. It's not ordinary. It is the greatest of merits. And moreover, the quantities that it gathers as likened here to uncountable collections of virtue. So the quality and the vastness of the merit is incomparable to the same activity being performed without the motivation of bodhicitta. So this line again is emphasizing the importance of bodhicitta, and this is what this verse is presenting, the importance of bodhicitta. Depending on the motivation with which one engages in an activity, that merit will last until that goal has been achieved. So if one practices any of the 6 practices, say ethical restraint, in order to gain a good rebirth, when that good rebirth is achieved, the strength of that merit is exhausted. If one engages in the same act of ethical restraint, but in order to achieve liberation, that merit will last until liberation has been achieved by oneself. And if that same act of ethical restraint is practiced with the motivation of bodhicitta, until not only you have attained enlightenment, but each and every sentient being has achieved enlightenment, because that is the goal of a bodhisattva. Until each and every sentient being has attained enlightenment, that self-same act of ethical restraint, that energy of it will remain. So therefore, it's likened here to a gathering uncountable collections of virtue. So for these reasons, bodhicitta is indispensable.
다시 바로 아주 좀 되고라 시베네 배나 저기 저게 인터넷 뉴디 갑려야 지 다와지기 셰도 인스는 베네 돌아 자탐버 제녀베네 다와지 나라 레드도 조사도 되는 조사라와 얘네 자탐버 베네 자탐고 비슷한 제베네 로직이 셰도 인스는 거 비슷한 제녀베네 융아마다 제야마다 이네 공고 비슷한 버디 로직이 셰도 와서 로직 마저 봐도 배시 다해야 돼 차그러와 지상고 무이제들이야 만용이 켜왔습니다. 그 미유들에 가서래 파 소수기 미유디 가서 로직이 체도 인세베네 다른 거 삼도나 디기 뉴버디 다른 거 다해서 자기열과 배시다해도 자로 배디나지로다 자주 셈세디 셈전 탐지기 된다 삼다지 미유 셈전 탐지기 된다 산조고 바토베치 셈전 탐제를 미바인자 대 진바 가르다면 진바 춘주 다나나 첨부 다베네 가세 다베네 디진바디 셈전 탐지기 된다 미바자 셈전 탐지기 산지고 마토 봐도 뉴바디레 다디가 자고로와 나 랑은 찍부체도 랑이 찍을 다 미개월에 치도 삼다제 진베 가세 슉첨부 다베나 게 지게 슉춘주 사베나도 개와시도 돕지뭐 사베네 진다디 미유디 충충마도 매봐서 디바도 난거 마디 베 데네레도 하다.
We can actually experience this in a sense in our own life. We take an example that if one has a monthly contract on your phone, and every month you have to pay, I don't know, $100, and then you have internet for an entire month, then after a month, internet's finished. But if you sign another contract and you pay, say, $150, and then you have internet for an entire year, very different result. So here, what's happened is there's a differing motivation. Because of the differing motivation, a differing amount of money was given. In the first case, $100, in the second case, $150. And moreover, because of the different motivation, a different result was achieved. The internet lasts just for a month, or the internet lasts for an entire year. So similarly here, when we engage in any endeavor, in dependence on that motivation, that determines the strength and the potency or the capacity to remain of that merit. If one engages in a small act of generosity, and one does so just for oneself, whether it's for temporary purposes or for a good rebirth or for liberation, only until then will that merit have energy. But if one does so for the sake of all sentient beings, so all sentient beings without exception may become enlightenment, the potency of the merit will remain until that aspiration is fulfilled.
Sanje goba tobe chide janju sim yu kunye langje da denegi zwenam da yeshi yu cho gewa kari zhubwe na denegi gyachenpo yinba di ane konzuye koranzo kengyu wara je re jida kenji dedari xie ne se koranzo ya kenje da gyase janju simba namye ane kari je wase jige rinje janju sim se di pe liaga gewe jawa kari zhubne 당고 장주심 육군내라 장주심 육군내라 저 장주심 냠는지 네 계속 죽고 그래서 예 린지 장주 린지심 주 투담 티두진시도 조체는 냠는다 더 배주 조배 군론 개와 가르제면 당고 장주심 장 삼다제 심 육군내라 지도 징거 그래서 계세 장주심 받는 게 장주심 산지고 고방 토발라 다 예체모 휴지지다 다 디메나 다 개와 가르주나 산조고 봐도 규책임도 전주심 육군에 라제 냠내 제바 가르제나 산조도 고봐도 규책이고 대인자 삼제 되니게는 전주심 배 마스 개체모 쉬우치네 티도 진선 조세고 조디 삼다제 되니 디토네 냠내 팔질 줄라서 봐 계획자와 차산 디토 주고 그래서 냠내는 거래지.
The first two lines of verse 22. Recognizing these truths, heroic bodhisattvas uphold the precious supreme mind as the heart of their practice. So here, having come to recognize the great value of bodhicitta, recognizing, as you see in the second line, that the mind refers to the mind of enlightenment or bodhicitta, recognizing that it is precious and that it is supreme, they hold it, the very center of their heart. And before any endeavor, they generate bodhicitta, whether they're doing something minor or major, whatever they're thinking about. They first generate bodhicitta and they keep bodhicitta, maintain bodhicitta present in their mind throughout their activity. This is because they value bodhicitta as precious and supreme and ensure that it pervades every mental, verbal and physical activity. And this is because the center of their heart is the welfare of all beings.
Dine 나중에 냠는 데다 탈퇴다게 되지 cancer로 세대 제름지기다. 제가 제름지기 가르송 거라서네. 제가 단님마 상기에 상기 코로나지네. 다 장주심기에 된다래 잠니죠콤 장주심기 장주심유군에 라제는 파진주기 냠는 제도 상기 바레스. 나대 장주심바 냠는 제딩의 콘주기네. 제가 고 잠니죠콤 장주심기 근데 장주 심기군에 라지 진바의 추림라서 총이 파신 총이 개와 가르사반 디토는 냠는 지고레스 세상 디베 마세 기에치 뭐 슈샤고레스 세상에 있네야 아니 자주에 잠니제라서 봐 곰잡자 자주 심기에게 돈다 자주 심기에게 냠는나 이게 있네 개와 사야 차상 디튼 지기에스 세상다 결혼조이네다 심지어 탐지기도 산지고본 토비에게 돈다라 돈열기 dum바 요바 인자 한 결혼조이네 자주 심기에게 돈다라 잠니제 베노 대시셰바나 콜비 동아 님이 삼났다 안지 심전 탐체 지게라 잠바콤이다 니지고 되네 장슈심 지게 장슈심자 산요고바 토바쇼 세베 장슈심 게죠 게 되네기 냠는 전에 되네 게죠 진바도 추름가리 게죠 가르줍네 장슈심 유군에 라제 냠네 제알 베주시고 그래서지 당한줄이야 제름 지게 두스네 다 랍제 조시 디는 거래
And the verse concludes with an exhortation from Lama Tsongkhapa. I, a yogi, have practiced in this manner. You who aspire for liberation should do likewise. But so Geshe Rinpoche is saying to us here, in order to become a Buddha, each and every one of the countless Buddhas generated bodhicitta. And not only them, every single bodhisattva abiding in all the worlds is training just like this. And moreover, each and every future bodhisattva too will train just like this. Therefore, do likewise. This is how I've trained. This is how all great practitioners train. Do likewise. Generate bodhicitta. Value it as the supreme of all attainments. Hold it in the depths of your heart and ensure it guides every activity you do, every thought and every communication.
나데마 파신 주인님의 진빈 님네 제다고 시고를 지사다 전주심 육군에 라제 담보 파신 주인님네 진빈 님네 세순고래 나데마 로세 진보 주위 레고 이신노 세네드나 디버치베 천자촉 마심닝도께베 게세주 년베 잡아 초주 로베시 데더시네 류당론주께 아네 용소 동위게 람산 KB된 아네 제가 라메 나주 라메님네 데더시 탈도다게 되지 장사로 세시도 송을
Now Geshe Rinpoche presents in his text verses on the 6 perfections, first of which being the perfection of generosity. So verses 23 and 24. Generosity is the wish-fulfilling jewel that fulfills the hopes of all sentient beings. It is the best weapon to cut the constricting knots of miserliness. It is an undaunted deed of the bodhisattva giving birth to heartfelt courage. It is the basis for renown throughout all 10 directions. Knowing this, the wise rely on the excellent path of giving away entirely their body, possessions, and virtue. I, a yogi, have practiced in this manner. You who aspire for liberation should do likewise.
다 파진 주변에 나네 냠는 당보디 진비 냠는 시고거래 진비 냠는 순고거래 제산다 진비 냠는데 당보 순고야 금세로 치카르레 라바이나 당하나들에 현이 된 제발라 아 저기 지딘 바미다 돈돌라서 바카레이네 또 당하나 저 강아 마디 가르치고 생활 좀 밀리 삼다베네 튕긴이 돈달라 아 저기 사해동야 돈다 아니 직 둘로고야게 돈다 강바다 모자다 되니게 유지 배지 따야 된다 아니 맨주지 맨다 되니게 돈 세상 되니게 초위 튀긴 디기다 강아로 직 세고고로 녀를 당보디 세고고래라래 베네 미질야 지게 메미 동아 베네 사야동야 공보다 베네 되니 배지 따야 둘로 메바 강아 쉬어야 베이나 다 미델이야 안 저거 로바치데 다 결혼이 못 봐야게 수림송 라베나 아니 꼴이야 나 수림 가서 뭐 내가 칼라데 들어던다 내가 내가 사야동에 수림송 뒤에 판도에 저것도 옆에 저 야기민들 라기로 와 세상 코 강아세에 그래서네 꼴이야 니를 가르 강아이나 사야동에 강아디 사야동에 제시 강아세 안 둘로 가야 디 강아세 Dini Lele Chadu, Dini Kolia, and Surim Soyada, and the Subocomia, Tundisabia, Yamnachi, Digila, Woro, Amado, Tampona Ganga, the said Messevena, and then call a Pandochi Capochagua, which is the Dini in Sang Mida, Dundula Coyat, so Tambodi, Zugi. So you is or just a dig a Mamutigo. Then as Bichas Adirota, Zemlin, Emilia Galacasa, the person, so you think Dondala Legaligo, Benjo Dondala, Ruadi, Mashipado, Songaja didn't Jagore, Gumaja didn't Jagore, Maja, Chasan Tubuye, Monsieur Chasan didn't on Jigorwa, the names are Diganga, the ins are Jimby Yamne the Tambo, somewhere the Kimzendi.
The purpose then of having generosity as the first of the 6 perfections is that we're wanting to help others, to benefit others. The first way to do so is to help them materially. The reason for this is worldly people and animals, their primary desire, their basic desire, is to have their material needs met. Certainly not the only thing beings long for, but this is their basic desire, to have their material needs met, to be materially comfortable. And only thereafter can they have, for example, freedom and leisure. So, for example, if one has a strong wish to benefit someone, and one comes across someone who's impoverished, and who's struggling to feed themselves, maybe they're naked or nearly naked, they're really in a desperate situation, and one starts to give them a talk on the Dharma, maybe tell them about ethics, their response is very likely to be, I can hardly eat. I don't know where I can even get clean water from. I don't know if I'll still be alive in a week's time. How can you talk to me about ethics? I need to eat. I need somewhere safe to live, and I need to be clothed. So the material needs of beings need to be fulfilled first. Thereafter, then there is a scope for spiritual development. But material needs need to be fulfilled first. And recognizing this, or we can see this in action in that beings are busy, humans are busy, and they're busy with work and with a variety of activities that consume their time. And this is primarily to fulfill their material needs. And a lot of the non-virtue that is created is to ensure that the beings have sufficient, their material needs are met. They deceive in their line of work, they may kill in their line of work, and certainly their physical time, their physical activities, as well as their mental activities, are consumed by this busyness, earning a living to ensure that what they consider the required level of material comfort is met. So that is why generosity is placed first.
Ganga samtawe ne jimbadi tangbo pechu chenpo chagore. De rang la sosorang samtawe ne, sosorang shen le roba che le ya, an sosu le tungin chi kogorwa, sosu tungin me na, an roba che tu mar, jizan sosu ki tungin yoya da, an donda la jimbe nyamne che war chagorwa. An di ma se sosu le yoba ine, sosu ki sena yoba ina, tongwe senpa, sama jigin si peki roba che ki pando jigin si, tongwe senpa di meba ina, an sena je yoba ina, sosu ki 직 튕겨 옆에 신 강을 로바 지금 제투 말와 되네 인자 안진배 냠네 저거디 기땅보 기침보래 제가 소수 생기 동안 배 강아 가리나 세야다 그거다 되네 강아 저 강아 세야라 안파 컨트롤에 기침보 아니 소수 옆에 컨트롤에 땅야래 소수 동위 선바디 고자 땅투고 고자 진배 냠네 제디 기침보데 라다 신 니가를 뛰어봐네 땅보 진배 냠네 제디 기침보래 해서 직 인자다 진배디 니 땅보 송말와.
Moreover, for one to be able to act out on this wish to benefit others materially, one needs an abundance oneself. One needs an abundance of material comforts in order to be able to help others materially. If one is absolutely impoverished, it's not possible. However, if one has material abundance, but also has the attitude or the mind of miserliness, one will not recognize one's material circumstances as being an abundance. One will not see one's situation as having abundance, but rather see oneself in a precarious situation, or perhaps in a situation of poverty. And therefore, in dependence on this dominance of this affliction of miserliness, despite having sufficient to meet one's needs, one will not share with others. One will not use what one has to ease the suffering and the burden of others. So therefore, in order to benefit others, one also needs to have material comfort, and in order for others to have the scope to be able to engage in spiritual development, their basic needs need to be fulfilled.
가서는 같이 때 지금 내 나서 요네 면주지에 메도 내 면주지에게 로보고 선배라와 어디니기 당한 주기 지된바 근데 심지어 두돌이네 사야 동에게라와 내래 탈야게라와 그래서 니네 인자 다지레와 고야라 아 저기 샹리아 지게 칼라사야 제야당 둘로제야당 만주기 로바치야다 딘체베는 콘주기 레와디 두고레스 두고레 제와 안디 가시네 아직 니톤에 양치 시윤 자에게 마신바 신고야게 된다 레와 내 디니기 안지기 데레 안디 레와디 제와치마 사다 미고 바토에게 레와 탈바다 탐지 김벽고 바토에게 레와 다디 레와 차산 뒤로 봐 레와 지선 니네자 짐바다바 있는 짐비 냠는 제와 있나 아니 레와 차상 콘도 두고 오래 제와 근데 사야동에 매발 양한 주기 짐비 냠는 제 콘도 사야동에게 제와 있나 그 레와 사야동에 제와디 레와디 톱제 네 레와 두고 오래스 아니 그런 게 캬바다 저거 또 동안 쓰고 오래지로와 캬바다 캬바이 동안 둘로테나 자기 말과 권고와 캬베 동안 쓰고 오래 칼라드는 사야동에 되나 저거 또 제비 동안 쓰고 그런 저거 두고 오래스 다디 멤비게 시행기 롭장 뒤간다 제와치말 하다 미우고 뭐 토바디비 되녀 유간 소리야 안 되네게 랑게 냠는 집에 냠는 콘솔 롭장 제파 제바 있나 건주기 디 냠는 제네 안 제와치말 하다 미우고 뭐 토투고 레와 공고레스 레와도 주고레스 안에 탈바다 탐지 힘고 뭐 토바디간 소리야 소수게 냠는 제 탈바 코노즈 람 콘솔이야 라산 남다게 돈에 람 마노와 템바이나 건주기 냠는 제제네 코 탈바다 탐지 힘고 뭐 토투고 세상 레와 공고 레와 공세데 레와 주투고 레제 세상의 진비 냠내서 마세 계침보레제 세상 니네 인자 저 샘전 탐지가 소소한 레와라 자마라 여러와 레와 친 가시 레와 춘춘 레와 가시 레와 침보 가른다 레와 여러와다 레와 레와나서 여러와다 가시는 뭐라 야보고 가진 딜레 야고야서 가시는 다 타바 토고도 가진 남긴 토고도 가서 전주선 바 차고 준비게 레와 지사 디네상 소수기 미하삼 남다의 돈에 전주선 6년랑 심제 탐지 레와다 내나 선배다 심제 동안은 단나 선배 인제다 심제 탐지기 돈 산유고방 토바 지긴 집에 전주선 6년랑 진바 도스진 진바 땅에는 안 진바디기 심제 코로나주게 레와 가리나 레와도 줍두고 레지레 조의 진비 진바 조의 레와 공선 조와 코로나서 레와 가르가르면 디도한테 줍두고 레지
The first line then, generosity is the wish-fulfilling jewel that fulfills the hopes of all sentient beings. The word hopes then, we should understand in a broad way. Hopes can be both desires and aspirations. So it's a very broad term. And sentient beings, as innumerable as sentient beings too have so many varying hopes and aspirations, or desires and aspirations. Sometimes the desires are very basic. They need food, they need shelter, especially with animals. This is what they often desire. Humans too. Those who are impoverished need food, clothing, shelter. And in a time of great difficulty, where people are living in a place where the government does not provide adequate medical assistance, certainly in a time of a pandemic, assistance is required, medical assistance is required. And people also have other hopes that need to be fulfilled. Sometimes they need friendship, sometimes companionship. At other times they need good advice. They need knowledge to be shared. And all need liberation and enlightenment. And within liberation and enlightenment, there are those who have their hopes and aspirations there. They have the aspiration for bodhicitta, the aspiration to develop the mind of generosity. So we understand then this term here of hopes in a very broad way, including both desires, where especially material goods. Some will want a car, and getting a car, they'll very soon want a new and better car, and so forth. So we understand this in a very broad way. And also, not just in material, but aspirations, in terms of developing qualities as a person, both in a spiritual and an ordinary way. So the hopes of beings is very broad. When a practitioner has the mind of generosity, that mind enables them to fulfill those needs. Certainly, for a bodhisattva, their aspiration is to fulfill each and every need, whether it is a material desire or a spiritual aspiration or a secular aspiration. Their desire is to fulfill the hopes of beings, to fulfill all the hopes of all beings. Without this mind of generosity, though, no matter what an abundance of material wealth and comfort one has, or skills and knowledge, or spiritual abilities, lacking generosity, one will not have the motivation, the wish, the ability to help others in their time of need. With the mind of generosity, whatever one has, and it's often far more than one recognizes, whatever one has, one will utilize for others. One will make endeavors to help others, using oneself or one's possessions to help others, fulfill their material needs, give them the advice they require, give them teachings where teachings are sought. Generosity is a mind of crucial importance for the fulfillment of the hopes of beings.
Seni duba jube chunja choksola. Jisa jimbi nyamlin chayadi sena sayadi meba soyala chunja chokto juba direce. Jisa na ngaro zule benjuro yewe ne sosu sena ro jewe ne shen ya roba chetu mares. Jisa sosu gi shen ya kari tono roba che nuba yoba na sena cheba na ani shen ya roba jig mare ta tinga rang ko jig sena cheba. Ta dene sena ni meba soyala jimbi nyamlin chayadi 지사 jimbi nyamlin sayadi nga zugi ta zo jimbi nyamlin chayadi semna la ya cha gomya de ro da dong wi sanba de jimba sin dong wi sanba de 지사 당이 미 다 nga lo penjo ro na kare shen ya ro ba cha chik chi se shen la dangi sanbe samda da so su gi penjo da lu da long ju kare yo bene shen ya 제기 셴 디기 주야다 셴이 두하세야라 땡기 산베기 노두스체네 삼르시 땅고 디장고 그래서 와지다 데네기 장유 소소 세나데 메바수 그래서 지다 세나스야 세나디 메바스야라 동외 셈바디 장고 그래서 지다 동외 셈바디 진방원에래 지다다 소소기 셴야 제기 뉴버로시 메베네 소소기 변조로다 소소기 셴로 로버제기 소소 무소 로버제 투이기 뉴버 메바이네 당아 삼나래야 정말이야 등이 당기나 알이야 직되는 여등이 차상 당기 셈베게 다 류롱주 개와 소소의 개와서베 개와 차상 시알이야 제기 시디기 디기주야 동아세야리야 제기 셈베게다 동외 셈바드 장 대단 고면조 동외 셈바도 장야 돼 지사다 소소기 튕기 소소기 다 소소리야 당 roje nibo yena ta jale kang tu roje go ro ta de ne ge ba ne je zan jin bi nyam ne je ba na se so se na de 추림 송아 잠지 추림 송의 세나디 매바서 두고 말이 치고다 지사 지사 되네 자 그 세내기 매바서에 아주 동의 선바 장야 진비념의 제대 야쇼를 했어요.
Looking then at the second line, it is the best weapon to cut the constricting knots of miserliness. Miserliness is described here as a constricting knot. It ties down the bodhicitta. It holds back the bodhisattva from benefiting others, where they have the capacity to benefit them. Therefore, miserliness is a grave impediment to the cultivation of bodhicitta and the expression of the attitude of bodhicitta. So therefore, miserliness must be overcome. And it's the training in generosity that serves to overcome miserliness. For example, ethical restraint. This will not overcome miserliness. It's generosity itself that overcomes miserliness. Miserliness being this self-concerning mind, whereas generosity is a wish to benefit others. A synonym for generosity is the wish to give. And that cultivating this wish to give, which is the mind of generosity, is the antidote to miserliness. Here, key point in the training of generosity is that it is primarily a mental training. It's primarily done in meditation. And in meditation, the bodhisattva or the aspirant bodhisattva generates a strong desire to give to others. And they do so through recognizing that all they have has come about in dependence on the kindness of others. And all they hope to achieve in the future, namely enlightenment, will come about in dependence on the kindness of others. How can they not give what they have to others when it came about in dependence on their kindness? How can they not aid others in their time of need? So reflecting like this, they see that all their outer material wealth, as well as their inner wealth, all of this has come about in dependence on the kindness of others, and therefore should be given to others. And if the bodhisattva has the capacity to give their body, whether it's in an ordinary way through physically helping, or even give their body, they generate the wish to do so. And then lastly, through this meditation, all this merit that they have accumulated has been accumulated, just like all the other inner good qualities and outer abundance has been accumulated in dependence on the kindness of others, and therefore is given to them. The final act of generosity in this meditation.
Jimbi Nyamlin Chebala, Gabrielia, Ganga, Ganga Chair, and the Niji Sosolia, Chikitine Ganga Chair, and Jimmy Joe that the Nick turned it, and Sosolia Jam, and Odangal Jam, and the Sebenga George, and Sam Shumba Yonsigro, Tisan the Niki, Shumia Marash, Mashum Nintup, Jebi, Geshe Thubten Rabten, Jimbi Nyamlin, Ninto Shu, Kenneth Semja, Tamjeg, Dondalia, that. Nale Galesh Karichuna, Karian Tour, Sabi, Indop Geje, and Geshe Thubten Rabten, and Jimbi Nyamlin Chigor, Yeshirwada, Mashum Nintup, Gibi, Geshe.
Then the third line. It is an undaunted deed of the bodhisattva giving birth to heartfelt courage. Generosity serves to give great strength of mind to the bodhisattva, to overcome any feeling of lack of capacity, overcome any self-restraint they have in terms of not recognizing their capacity, feeling that they have insufficient skill and ability to help others. All these false constructs that hold them back and prevent them from actually being of benefit to others. Generosity, the wish to give, pushes them out of this comfort zone, pushes them towards others, towards helping others, towards others so that they can use their wide variety of skills to benefit others and ease their suffering.
Nyembe trawa choju drobi shi sede. Then nyembe trawa choju drobi shi labian de la garso garsen jimbe nyamnen soso range da tongye semba chang je soso range da shenlia lunga lu longje chasa to de shenlia pemba drup je shenlia and jig roba cheba yina ane 다 소소라 미디 아니 미디 야고도 세야지 차상기 연 뚱아 지기로 와세데 지상 같이 가는 어디 사죠 가와이나 미디 lumba델레 미디네 저디기 미교로 로바티네 지가 판도티네 지고 세베게 되네 소소게다 담년도 아마서나 같이 갈이야 캬용고래 해제래 예비 잡아 지상 데니기 캬용 바인자 아니 가르 용고래 랍나 다 소수기 댐비 소수기 약보를 해야 돼. 담년다 잡아이나 근데 소수기 차상게 소설야 거부지기로 와. 소설라 거부를 제외나 근데 소수기 마콜이야 안에 지금 냠는 제 최 냠는 지야 결혼 지 수름디네 송고라 결혼 냠는 데네 제거를 셰베네 연기로 와. 진짜 소수기 진비 냠는 지네 소설야 담년다 잡아나 나게게야 말해 전시선반 남기 신든 주베 팽고래. 제가 데니시도 소소를 가고 같이 진비 냠는지 소소를 야배 거부시야다 데니 차로도 소소게 마 냠는 제주에 있는 아니 소소게 셰바나지 냠는 제제 아니 건조를 파여 아니 지금 예 좀 소야 아니 지금 아주 되지 셰바나시 아니 나서면 동아 삼다야 안디 델레 타르도게 녜중게야 도소 공고래 세비게 되네 삼다 델레야는 진바도 수르수비 전리 냠는 도시야고래 스말랍지켜요도 아니 소소리아 이시지나 소소라 거부지요베는 소소 되네시는 연구하러 와. 저 되네인자 셴리아 아니 제 최유 롭존데야다 타르바트 탐지kimbe 고바타발이야 판도 침무차고래 해지래.
It is the basis for renown throughout all 10 directions. So if one, as is expressed in the fourth line of verse 23, if one is generous and gives to others, aids them in their time of need, giving to them materially, solving their material difficulties, even if only temporarily, giving them advice which eases their mental suffering, aiding them in whichever way one can, naturally people feel a sense of gratitude and appreciation towards oneself, and with this mind of joy generated in them, they will tell others about what you have done. And therefore you'll be praised and respected wherever one goes for being a good person, a person who's seen as reliable, trustworthy, and honest. So here one may well wonder, but why is this important? Often in the world we think of renown as being connected, a desire for renown as being connected to pride. Bodhisattva solely focused on the welfare of others. So renown is important for them because when they have renown, it will be because of their qualities as a bodhisattva. Others will look at them, not recognizing they are necessarily a bodhisattva, but as a kind-hearted person, an honest person, a trustworthy person, a reliable person, someone worthy of respect. And why this is important? It means they will be open and receptive to what the bodhisattva has to say. It means they will look to the bodhisattva as a role model, an example to follow, an example to emulate. And being open and receptive to the bodhisattva will enable the bodhisattva to positively influence them towards abandoning the causes that lead to suffering, and rather accumulating the causes that lead to happiness. And because the people are open and receptive to the bodhisattva, the words that the bodhisattva gives to them, whether it's in the form of advice or teachings, will have a great impact. They'll penetrate deep inside their heart, and thereby turn them away from non-virtue, turn them towards virtue. The Bodhisattva will be able to encourage them to, as we've been looking at here, meditate on the sufferings of the low realms and in the sufferings of the upper realms, giving rise to the wish to emerge from the suffering realms of cyclic existence through training in the acts of ethical restraint, generosity, patience, and so forth. The Bodhisattva will be able to teach them in this way because they will be open and receptive to the Bodhisattva, because they see the Bodhisattva as kind-hearted, generous, loving, dependable, honest, and reliable. This is why renown is important for a Bodhisattva.
Jimbi Nyamlin Jebaina, and Jimbi Nyamlin Chene, and Digi Simjingi, Rarangi, Ganga Karina, Ganga Seata, and a Soso Rarangi, Sena Chea, and Dinigi Soso Rarangi, Jintushin Jimba, Nyamlin Jeadu, and me, and just Michasangi, and Sosolia Gocheata, the Anjig Pando Gochea Yungor, Chesa Dine Gochi Soso Rarangia, and Consulia Chen Yamlin Jeagi, and Surum Soyata, Suba Comiala Sopa, and Yamlin Jedma, Sheyandu, and the Consulia Pando Chimbushu Yungore, Dine Yoba Jensemanam Yahawatch, Bejik Ningdo Bezu, Ningdo Geja, Semjan Dandalia, Jimbe Yamlin Jed, Masi Gechimborisha, Samje, Dundu Conjugi, Gechimbushu, Zije, and Data Shene, that Sixumba Data Shene, said the Nikechimo in by the Hago, Hago and Hagon and Garjosene, Ludan Longe, Yonso Tongi, Lamsan Cape, said the Chesam. The Niki Gumsend, the Beju Chimbo in by the Hago, then the Ningo Chimbi Tone, Rangu, Lu, Longe, Kare, Kavas, Kare Sevina, Simjal Patangi, Sembege, Tongi Semba Chang, Tongi Semba Chang with Tone, and Sosogi. Nibe Gang Tubki Shalia and Jusine, and the Gasore, Rochik or Pamba Dubo, Eche, Chesa, Lamsa, Denigi, Yamling, Yabo Semjan, Tamjig, Dandala, Tichiadi, Kebe dance, the Kavajan Sembanam, you want to get Namju, you can Denigi, Javachen, Pando, Yoba, how go you do, how go Andigi, Denigi, Yamlin Chigo, Eche.
What we've seen here in the 23rd verse is that generosity is the wish-fulfilling jewel that fulfills the hopes of all sentient beings. Generosity is the best weapon to cut the constricting knots of miserliness. Generosity is an undaunted deed of the Bodhisattva giving birth to heartfelt courage, and generosity is the basis for renown throughout all 10 directions. So here, the many benefits for both the Bodhisattva as well as for others are explicitly mentioned in this verse. Benefits that come for Bodhisattva is that this affliction of miserliness is directly counteracted. Moreover, the benefits for others are, and secondly, that they gain great renown or fame, and thereby are able to help others evermore. The benefit for others, well, this is apparent. The material needs are met by the Bodhisattva. Their other needs for advice and friendship are met, as well as their needs for the Dharma. These too can be met through generosity. Therefore, great benefit comes for self and others, for the Bodhisattva and sentient beings, through the practice of generosity, through the cultivation of this mind of giving. Then the next verse, knowing this, so knowing the great benefits of generosity, the wise rely on the excellent path of giving away entirely their body, possessions, and virtue. Having come to a deep and heartfelt appreciation of generosity, then from the very depths of their heart, the Bodhisattva in meditation will wholeheartedly, not in any contrived manner, with sincerity, give their body to others, give all their possessions to others, and all their roots of virtue, the causes for future happiness, they will give to others. In brief, the bodhisattva will generate a sincere wish to do whatever is required to ease the burden of suffering of sentient beings, in particular, to guide them to the lasting state of happiness, that is enlightenment itself.
탐제리아 땅이 삼제 안에 두세 동의 삼바장 동심 파 동의 진비 냠네 동의 삼바파 롤파 야네 야도 곰장 내내 곰장에 안에 소수기 지게 류이 롱죄 개와 탐제 샤리아 땅진 샤리아 펜바 디기 주비아다 동아세야 돈도 두스던 거레스 제가 당 아론주이네 제름지 코로나이네 근데 제름지 소야 되다 자주 sem바는 이마 상예다 상예디게 찾아 데니스 냠레 집에 냠레지 상교고 토바레 다들 자주 sem바디기네 자주 sem제제 데니기 동의 sem바장 류롱저 찾아 당긴 sem비세 동의 sem바자 데니게 판도 강도도 지네 집에 냠레 능고레스 그래서 당에게네 아니 데니치네 집에 냠레 두수 제가 인서를 자주 심제 탐 상교고 토바 쇼어스 심제 탐지도 삼다 데니기 안동의 sem바장 소소그 강도되기 시작이야. 아니 지금 뭐서 라라다야 다 진짜가 인스. 지난달 결혼주의네 다 심지어 탐지 상교고 톱고고 인자 지난 결혼주의 상교고 톱하기 되버여를 dim버여를 여반자 결혼주의네 아니 심지어 탐지기도 상교고 톱을 쇼스 배 잔슈 셈게 군로 디토네 아니 진발이야. 아니 그래서 당보 삼노나래야 류롱저 카레네 샹리아 땅기 셈베셴기 디기주야 동아세던 땅기 셈베게 야네 야도 삼다 동의 셈바도 공부그레스 안 동의 셈바 공제네 소수기 뉴바인 뉴에 뉴기에네 샹리 로저 카레지 제 투에 그 뉴바여반 다라 어두신 라렌 따진 지제고레스지 예름 장하즈 랍제도 두스는 거와
The verse concludes with Rinpoche saying, I, a yogi, have practiced in this manner. You who aspire for liberation should do likewise. So here is exhorting us, having trained successfully in reflecting on the faults of cyclic existence and given rise to a sincere wish to gain freedom, now generate bodhicitta for the welfare of others. And with bodhicitta in your presence, train in giving. Train in giving. Train in doing whatever you can to help others. Where they have material needs, train in wishing to fulfill the material needs. Where they have non-material needs for friendship and kindness, train in helping them in every way. And moreover, and in particular, train in generating the wish to guide them to their own enlightenment. Take this advice from me, because I have trained like this, in the same way that all the Buddhas have and Bodhisattvas are training. Develop this wish to give, to ease the suffering of others, to ease their burden of pain and misery. Train in giving, wanting to give them all that they desire. And when you do so always with the motivation of bodhicitta, always with the motivation of achieving Buddhahood for the sake of others. Therefore, I train in generosity, whether in meditation or out of meditation. Whatever you do so with this motivation of bodhicitta. Give to others in order, with the motivation that this merit you offer to them, so that they and all sentient beings can achieve enlightenment. And in this way, you fulfill the aspiration of all bodhisattvas and all the Buddhas.
다데네 추름 송고래 제다 추름 냠네 시고래 베네 추름 예제지마 추베추 녀모 차동세외 다위외 계고 위나 륜보 따버지 뜻비 디바 메바 조군디 대다르시네 야다케 랑비팀 담바남지 미션 송고래 대다 라메 나중에 열는 냠네 대다르세 타르도다게 되지 cancer losses.
Then the second perfection, that of ethical restraint, verses 25 and 26. Ethical restraint is the water cleansing stains of faulty behavior. It is moonlight dispelling the burning torment of the afflicted minds. In the midst of people, it is majestic like Mount Meru. It brings together all beings without any threat or force. Knowing this, holy beings guard the ethics they have chosen to adopt as they do their eyes. I, a yogi, have practiced in this manner. You who aspire for liberation should do likewise.
다 둘로 지만의 주변의 주고로 디나시 당아 주게 류가 예수 예제 때 수름 송여도 샬라 네버 지기메 셈비 수름 송여도 아니 네버 지비에 삼나 차상 아니 네베 삼바디게 차상 가루고 녀모바 디베 삼제 가고레스 지산 추나이레스 안디나지다 수름 송여 될이야 다 류가 예수 예제 때 수름 송여제 안디하 아니 라도에 삼바 송여 되래 저 라도에 삼바 송여 지산 라도에 당아 주게 라도에 삼바도 송여도 아니 저게 아니 송진의 라딩의 선배도네 샤라 녀바디 마요한테 송고로 되네자 주름 소야디 게치 모레 제가 라딩의 선바다 아니 아주 류가 유스미 예주 디바디게 디바레 디마나지레 제가 디 송원고 제 마요야 까야라 아주 류가 예주 돈바 주름 소야디레 제
Looking at the first line. Ethical restraint is the water cleansing stains of faulty behavior. The imprints then of faulty behavior here are likened to stains. And it's the practice of the ethical restraint of our body, speech, and mind that cleanse away or purifies these stains. And this is done so through ethical restraint, suppressing temporarily, or not completely, but greatly reducing the arisal of the afflictions. Because ethics, the practice of ethical restraint keeps the mind virtuous and prevents the arisal of the afflictions. And for a bodhisattva, they practice ethical restraint in a unique way. Because generally, ethical restraint is the commitment not to harm. And this is understood as not to harm self or others, because the mere arisal of the afflictions harms oneself. The expression of the afflictions harms others. But here the bodhisattva, being a bodhisattva, they already have as their focus not to harm others. So they can go deeper. And their primary object of restraint, the primary object that they are striving to overcome through the practice of ethics, is a self-cherishing mind. To ensure that everything that they say, do, or think remains free of influence from the self-cherishing mind. So whilst for other practitioners, the practice of ethical restraint is primarily to restrain the mind from the arisal and dominance of the afflictions, for the bodhisattva, this is not primary, it's secondary because of their skill already. Their primary objective through the training of ethics is to ensure that the self-cherishing mind, the mind of self-interest or self-obsession, it does not influence them at all.
차와주나 다위 외치의 시진이 차고로 디나신 땅아 저기 수름 융아 이수미 예제 dom제 예제 싸워진 지메 삼바 삼로 dom야다 랑 지진의 삼로도 균에 기지금에 기주금에 sab게 삼로 dom여도 아줄야 안주 녀모바게 디 고가르고 녀모 기고 말저 콘도 기기 말에 안 되샤 기기 말에 녀모 기가 말에 매반자 대 데니게 수름 송야 되기 아 저기 녀모바 마게 사동기 강아대야 랑래 강아 샹래 강아데 세고래 해제
In the second line in the 25th verse, it is moonlight dispelling the burning torment of the afflicted minds. when the afflictions arise in us, not just anger, but pride and jealousy and attachment, it stirs up our mind as if it's burning in the heat of midday sun. And it not only destroys our peace and happiness and harms us tremendously, but so too others. This is how the afflictions burn us. This pain that the afflictions always cause, ethical restraint, soothes our mind in that our mind stays positive, happy, gentle, and spacious because it's dominated by virtue, not by afflictions. And ethical restraint does this for the bodhisattva by ensuring that the self-cherishing mind plays no role in their motivation or activities. Ethical restraint ensures that every thought and physical and verbal deed is freed from influence of the self-cherishing mind. And being freed from the influence of the self-cherishing mind, in this way, the bodhisattva ensures that the afflictions do not play any role, because from the self-cherishing, all the afflictions come. So this is how ethical restraint cools the torment of the afflictions.
아니 기부이나 시도가 저기 미망부길이야 지금 샤다 콘로 처보다 녀모 처보다 간신에 지수기랑을 누구 말했어 제가 소수기라 녀모면은 아니 라지진 삼바가 녀모가 수름 송지비즈 라니라 강아틱 말했어 제가 라니 강아틱 말했어 제가 소수기 셈마기버 책 말했어 제가 소수배 흘리시 되도 그래 제대로.
The third line. In the midst of people, it is majestic like Mount Meru. So Mount Meru, of course, is this mythical giant mountain. So just like the wind and the rain has no impact on powerful mountains, so too will others not be able to have an impact on the bodhisattva because of the presence of ethics. Because the ethical restraint for bodhisattva restrains the arisal of the self-cherishing mind. Without the arisal of the self-cherishing mind, afflictions are dormant. The mind remains virtuous. And therefore, in the midst of people, ordinary beings who are afflicted, some will be arrogant, some will be angry, some will be abusive. The bodhisattva, due to the presence of ethical restraint, their mind will stay spacious. Their mind will stay undisturbed because the afflictions are not rising because of the presence of ethics. So no matter how angry or aggressive people are around the bodhisattva, their mind stays calm, spacious, and gentle, dominated by virtuous minds such as love and compassion. And this is all possible because of their power of ethical restraint.
That denegi that topi tikpa meba drogun du sede that topi tikpa meba drogun du labde karsongras soso rarange da lunga yesu nyejo dimbe tsurim song an ran chising samba song che pa tsurim song be ndi topi soso rala nyomo pa ki go ma soso tikpa sa go ma des jesan soso tikpa ma sa ba ma je shanla ya ane kanga tikgo ma shanla tikpa sa chu go ma soso ge nyejo dum tsurim song ane rāngchē jīn sāmbā sōngā dui, ane sōsō kī lé khādi khārā chī kōsēn, xiān lé nūbē jāwā chīk mārwa, xiān lé pēnbē jāwā kiñā chī kōrā, chē yō dui, ane xiān lé tīkpa sā chī kō mārā, rāngā tīkpa sā kī mārā. Chē sān dīne zā, ane tīkpa mē bā rōgōn dū yu sī dē, rō chā sāng kī sōsō lé bē gāwū chī kī dū gī rī sī bē nē, dū chē bē gui gui chē, tā mī kō nē rā nē, kō tīkpa chī kī mā hō jā sā chī kī mārā, mī yā gō yō rā sā tā, dīne kī chā sāng chē sōsō lé, ane dūpa chī kī rī sī. 코 판도 두그레 해야지. 제상 소설이야 구구르지야도 소설을 구십치기래 해줘래. 그래서 조금 뒤에서 Deni gujeb chebayina, ane sosogi, da sosogi nyomo me makebaka, mishengi chasangla guibache, gujeb cheyadu, da deni sosorana yanchi kozolya, chi pando chubiyagi, anchigi kyonazune dibachi yomarasa tsurum sunya, dan kewa chubiya deni chegora sipa sheyadu, ane nyingirwa, yagwa nyingirwa, deni pando chimbu chubtuku gores.
And fourthly, on the fourth line, it draws together all beings without any threat of force. So ethical restraint here draws together all beings without any threat of force. This is because the bodhisattva is practicing ethical restraint, so their self-cherishing mind is restrained, cannot arise, and therefore their behavior, their physical, their verbal behavior, is not influenced by any afflictions at all. So this means the bodhisattva is not acting at all in a non-virtuous manner, and thereby is not bringing any harm to others. So there's no threat of force to others. Others are completely safe in the presence of a bodhisattva. No matter how they act towards her, they remain safe. She will bring them no harm. Because of the ethics in her continuum, she gains further renown for this. Beings come to see that she only responds with kindness to the harm that she may receive. And this draws them together around her. They will see her as someone who in her presence, they are safe. And therefore she is trustworthy and honest, in that when they act in an afflicted manner, they will not receive harm in return. And that is rare in the world, and this therefore is recognized in the bodhisattva. The great importance of this, from the perspective of a bodhisattva, because they already know they are not accumulating non-virtue, but only accumulating virtue themselves because of the presence of ethical restraint. But why this is so important for them, this impact they have on others, is these beings who are afflicted and are gathering around the bodhisattva, these are the very beings that she holds in the depth of her heart and wants to benefit. These are the very beings who she wants to be, she wants them to be receptive to her so that she can reach out to them and give them guidance in how to recognize the grave danger that afflictions play and how to overcome them, and thereby have a positive influence in their lives. And she can do so because beings gather around her knowing that they are safe and she is trustworthy and honest.
Dine inzada Geshe Senpa namji an detar shene yangda langbi tim damba namji mishin songwa tse se detar shene se du tsutun nyamne se be ma se kiye chimbo tsutun nyamne cheba ina lunga is nyeju timbe tsutun so ran chi zeng samba songwa ina ani mi shazan le ani rang gyule nyomo ma jeba rang ani shidu ya da ani gewa sa ba rang gewa sa ni shidu yo di top ge an shen ne ani chen le ne ba ma jeba shen le nene kanga mateba ani shen simcha ta rang liya oda gugur che dan duba che de rang le so so ge ya ani konso le pando chup chimbo pando labo chibo chup lab chimbo chup tu yo ba de negi ne su de ha go bene jimba de be ne so so ge chudum ma song je chizu kane chizu she de ana ani nga je be ne pando she yo ba chesa jimba ta ba ne so so ge chudum song we thone ani kunjue sangbo de je be ne konso ka che pando che yo go ba de ne inza de ne ge ha go je 개바 남기 자주선바 남기 냠바 상여 좀 되는 그런 수준에 되네 냠는 진짜 상 개발에 진배 냠는 수준 냠는지 되네 다들 자주선바 남기야 되네게 금전 첨부 배주 첨부 임바 하고 전에 안에 수준 냠는 배 마시기 베니 믹 나신 아주 류게 차시는 믹디 개쳐요 진짜 믹면은 내가 가지 디나시 믹송아 나신 전에는 배 마시게다 수준세 류가 이수 예주도 비 수준사 다 안에 지금 장치승의 삼바 안디마제 안 수름들 자주 셈베게 안에 지게 Dombashin, Dombalayata, and Nagi, Dombashin, Dombalay, Karina, the Dushin, Ladi, Chazan Dushin, Susan, Mig Nationally, Zachewach in the shoe, Yechimoshin, Sungo, Regire.
In verse 26, knowing this, holy beings guard the ethics they have chosen to adopt as they do their eyes. What the bodhisattvas come to know is the great value of ethical restraint. They come to know that ethical restraint is of great benefit to them, in that their afflictions do not arise due to the power of their ethics. Thereby their mind stays virtuous and peaceful, no matter what circumstances they find themselves in, and moreover, they're accumulating vast stores of merit, which they can give to others as well. And great benefit comes to others, in that they receive no harm from the bodhisattva, and therefore become open and receptive and trusting towards the bodhisattva, and thereby the bodhisattva can benefit beings. So this way, the bodhisattva values ethical restraint greatly. And that's the meaning of knowing this. Holy beings include the Buddhas and the bodhisattvas. They guard the ethics they have chosen to adopt as they do their eyes. So the meaning of this is, just like ourselves, we guard our eyes closely. We will not let harm come to our eyes for even a moment. We will not accept something that is slightly dangerous to our eyes. We will make sure we protect our eyes. Likewise, the bodhisattva protects their ethics. They never drop their guard. They never accept that in a particular situation, unethical behavior is suitable. They never, in any situation, accept that unethical behavior is suitable. This is the meaning then of guarding their ethics as we do our eyes. This is how we need to train as well.
Raji Samba Sung Jindus Yaman Chebai, that Kyonazoine, and then the Shewores, Chizadine Chebaina, Sangeta Samba Chazan, Yaman Din Chebai, then Razuina Din Shewores, the Jeremy Chehanzulia, Lapchinaya de Dinangorwa.
As previously, Rinpoche concludes by stating, I, a yogi, a practice in this manner, you who aspire for liberation should do likewise. Once again, he is exhorting us. Heard the great benefits of this training, ensure from this moment forth you keep your ethics pure, meaning you ensure the afflictions do not arise. This is how all the Buddhas trained. This is how all the bodhisattvas are training. I am an illustration of that too. I followed their example and I achieved their results. You who aspire for liberation, particularly the great liberation of enlightenment, this is an imperative training. Train in the way that's set out here.
Jesa Tarnida, Simjan Tamji Dewada Dena, Simpe Chambago, Simjan Tamji Dunga, Tower Show, Simpe Nijikum. Then Simjan Tamji Dewada, Tempa Dunga, Tower, Nijis, the Inzang Simja Tamji Sanjoko, Tower Show, Simpe Chanju Simja Samta, Dine Samta. Dine Samta Dangi, that's Simja Tam Sanjoko, Tower Chigi, the Inzangi, Lu Longe Gewa, Kare, Jebi Nangi, Simjan Tamjilia, Digi, Yad. Digi Juviata, Simja Dunga Sege Dondalia, Tangi, Samja Sosorana Gitinigi, Jimbi, some Jimba, Donwa, Donsemcom, Cesadu Chendangi, Lu Longe, Kawa Kareshina, Simja Lipatangi, Chesa Simja Tamjel, Tangi Simpe Samda. And the Nigi, Tangi Simja Tamjig Donda Sanjako, Tobachi, Di, Tangi, Lunga Yuswin, Yechet, Unikijume, Sada, Ranchis and somebody, Unikijume, Sempe Samda, Susugi, Shenle, Pembe, somebody, 가제 두두 지게서 랑치선 삼도 균이 기주메 지나다 녀모바세도 균이 기주메 아 삼베게 삼다 다 소소라나 베네 자주심베 돈발렘바 렌여바다 메뉴 멤베게 당한 적이 달 랍주이나 단디 돈발렘바지 돈바티게 배하고 숨기 샘베게 도 삼다 된가 적에 숨다 진짜 제사 다 랑게 숨 마세 랑게 진베 냠는 제하다 랑게 수름 숨아 마세 니 샬라야 안 소소라나 고다 바다지 냠는 제 샬라야 안 수름 숨야다 진베 냠는 제하랴 판도 누기 샘베게 도체네 삼다데 로 자야 된 가도 되네 삼다들이도 하다 가지 드린 게 해야 되는 도시.
What we've looked at then, both this morning and this afternoon, is first the reflections on the sufferings of samsara, giving rise to the strong determination to attain freedom from the pain and misery that all beings in cyclic existence find ourselves in. And then we take this and apply it to others, seeing that they are in the same position as us, suffering, but lost in darkness and confusion, no idea of the severity of their situation. Thinking like this, generating great compassion for them suffering in this way, lost and blind in darkness. If they're not already in the low realms, they're always in grave danger of falling there. Generating then love, may they achieve lasting, stable happiness, a happiness that is never interrupted even by moments of suffering. And then taking that as our personal responsibility. It's not good enough just to leave this to the Buddhists and Bodhisattvas. I have to help others. I have to help them in the most meaningful way. I have to help them become Buddhas too. But I'm not there yet. I have to strive for Buddhahood myself so that I can guide them with perfect knowledge that's not impeded by any stain of an affliction at all. I now commit to becoming a Buddha for the sake of others. Having generated bodhicitta in this way, to actualize this aspiration, one has to train. One trains in the six perfections. So we looked first then at generosity. We train in the mind of giving, the wish to give to others, to ease their suffering, to make connection with them, and thereby to be able to benefit them in the most meaningful of ways. We train in developing the wish to give them, fulfill their material needs, to fulfill their other needs through giving advice and giving teachings. And most importantly, and also where we can, we give our body, physical assistance, and most importantly, we give our roots of virtue to others. We develop this wish, feeling a closeness to others, recognizing our interdependence, and generating aspiration to give all that we have for them. Then in dependence on this, or following this rather, we reflect on ethical restraint, restraining our body, speech and mind through restraining the arisal of the self-cherishing mind, ensuring that every thought is freed of influence on the self-cherishing, and thereby our activities for physical and verbal are freed of such an influence. And here then we bring these two together, ethics and generosity, that in every act of generosity I ensure that I am ethical, that I do not contravene any, I'm not influenced by any affliction whilst helping others. And then for ourselves, whatever vows that we have achieved, take this training as mentioned here in the 26th verse, and commit to keeping your vows, whether they're bodhisattva vows, whether the vows are the ordained, or whether they're refuge vows. Commit to keeping them, to guarding them as we guard our eyes, for the purpose of enlightenment. In other words, all the merit that I achieve through keeping these vows purely, I dedicate so that all sentient beings achieve enlightenment. So thank you. We'll finish there, and then next time we will look at the next perfection, that of patience.